The Galactic Council had long governed the stars with cold indifference, a web of power spanning hundreds of star systems. For centuries, they maintained their dominance by manipulating lesser civilizations, stifling potential threats before they could mature. To the Council, Earth was nothing more than a speck of primitive chaos, an insignificant world spinning in the outer rim. But recently, something had changed. Humanity had grown rapidly, far too rapidly for the Council's comfort. Technological leaps that should have taken millennia had occurred in mere centuries. Worse still, humans were unpredictable, driven by passions and emotions that made them dangerously volatile. The Council had observed them in silence, their discussions growing increasingly anxious as Earth's presence loomed larger. It was no longer enough to watch from afar. The Council had decided it was time to act. On a cold metallic throne aboard the orbital council chamber, Lord Vakathar, the Council's supreme overseer, peered at the holographic display before him. A massive map of Earth flickered with data points. Population centers, military installations, key political figures. His emerald eyes narrowed. This species cannot be allowed to threaten the balance we have worked so long to maintain, he hissed to the assembly of alien dignitaries gathered before him. Their ambition has outpaced their understanding. They will bring ruin upon the galaxy. His words echoed in the chamber, but there was no dissent. Each member of the Council knew the cost of inaction. Earth's nations were divided. Yes, but their advancements in technology and weaponry posed an undeniable threat. The humans were erratic, untrustworthy, a fire that needed to be extinguished before it spread. The plan is simple, Vakathar continued, his voice a blade of cold steel. We will send our finest operatives, assassins from the galaxy's deadliest species, each with a singular purpose, to decapitate humanity's leadership. From the shadows of the chamber stepped a figure draped in dark, shimmering armor. This was Ulrich, the leader of the alien assassin squad. He was a product of a world long forgotten, bred for war and trained for silence. His face, pale and angular, was without emotion as he bowed before the Council. I live to serve, he said, his voice a low growl. Vakathar nodded approvingly. You will eliminate key human figures. Military leaders, scientists, anyone who could unify their kind or accelerate their growth. Make it look like accidents, natural deaths, anything that leaves them disoriented. Humanity must not see us coming. Ulrich straightened. It will be done. The assassins chosen for this mission were not ordinary soldiers. Each one was an expert in the art of death, hailing from species that had honed their lethal skills over millennia. There was Katel, a shapeshifter from the liquid worlds of Cylon, able to assume any form to strike from within. Next to him stood Zal, a towering insectoid from the deserts of Dracora, whose venom could paralyze a target instantly. And in the shadows, silent as death itself, lurked Vares, a telepath from the distant moons of Yaler, capable of twisting a victim's mind until they tore themselves apart. The assassins were given their targets. Generals, scientists, political leaders, the architects of humanity's progress. Earth's most brilliant and powerful minds, spread across continents, were marked for death. The operation began swiftly. Within days, the first human figure fell. General Carson, the commander of a classified weapons project, was found dead in his private residence. His heart had stopped in the night, the official report citing natural causes. But it was Ulrich's blade that had pierced his chest, unseen and unfelt. The Council's plan was already in motion. More deaths followed. A prominent physicist collapsed during a public lecture, his body betraying no signs of foul play. A senator with influence over global defense strategy vanished during a diplomatic mission. Fear gripped humanity, but the true threat remained hidden. The assassins moved like shadows, leaving no trace, no hint of their extraterrestrial origins. Yet, despite their initial successes, the Council's confidence in their plan began to waver. Humans, it seemed, were not so easily cowed. While chaos spread among Earth's leaders, whispers of the truth began to emerge. In the depths of black site intelligence agencies, cryptic messages intercepted from space were decoded, fragments of alien transmissions revealing a chilling possibility. This was no random plague of deaths. Earth was under attack, not from within, but from the stars. Humanity had always thrived in the face of adversity, and as the pieces fell into place, their response became inevitable. The Council had sent assassins, believing their superiority would go unchallenged. But they had underestimated one crucial factor: the resilience of the human race. Far from cowed, Earth's remaining leaders convened in secret. Their enemies may have come from the stars, but humanity had its own shadow forces. And now, with no other choice, they were prepared to unleash the deadliest weapon they had. The elite squad, known only in whispered rumors as the Boogeymen, in the heart of Earth's last bastion of security, deep beneath layers of reinforced steel and concrete, the world's remaining leaders gathered in a dimly lit war room. The air was thick with tension, each face carved with the weight of impending doom. The assassins were winning, yet, as grim as the situation appeared, there remained one final card humanity had yet to play. "Activate them," General Jason muttered. Around the table, there was no debate. They all knew who he meant. For years, the Boogeyman had been a myth, a shadow whispered in corridors of power, a clandestine unit so secret, most believed it was just a dark story spun to deter enemies. But the stories were real. And now, with humanity's greatest minds and leaders falling one by one, the time had come to release their most dangerous weapon. Across the table, Director Selena Ward, head of the covert intelligence agency responsible for the team's creation, nodded solemnly. They've been waiting for this. And God help us all once they're unleashed. At the edge of the world, in a facility buried beneath the frozen tundra, the Boogeyman squad awaited orders. Each member had been handpicked from the darkest corners of military and intelligence operations, the best of the best, trained for missions that didn't officially exist. No records, no medals, just ghosts in the wind. They were not just soldiers. They were legends. First was Cade Mercer, a former Special Forces operative with a mind as sharp as his combat skills. Rumor had it he could dismantle a battalion without a trace. Then there was Rosa Cypher Diaz, a cyber warfare expert capable of hijacking entire communication grids with the tap of a key. Her mastery of tech was matched only by her cold precision in the field. Beside her stood Ibrahim Shade Khalid, master of stealth and guerrilla warfare, said to be able to disappear into any environment. City or jungle, it made no difference. And finally, the most enigmatic of them all, Abel Ward, also known as Phantom. The son of Director Ward, Abel was humanity's most efficient and feared assassin, his methods so brutal and precise that even the other Boogeymen hesitated to speak of his past missions. A single transmission cut through the silence of the underground complex. The Council has come. Earth is under siege. Initiate Operation Revenant. The squad moved instantly, their purpose reignited. Cade was the first to speak, his voice calm but heavy with the gravity of the situation. It's begun. We take the fight to them now. The Boogeyman didn't strike blindly. Their first mission was to gather intelligence, identify the weaknesses of the alien assassins, and determine their command structure. What made the squad truly terrifying was their ability to adapt, to exploit any enemy's strengths and use them against them. And now, faced with extraterrestrial assassins that had caught the rest of the world off guard, they set out to prove humanity's capacity for survival. The first strike came in Berlin. Cattell the shapeshifter had infiltrated a high-level Human Defense Council meeting, taking the form of an officer. As the alien prepared to execute his target, the lights flickered once, then died. In the darkness, there was no sound but the faintest whisper of movement. Cattell, already a master of stealth, sensed something was wrong too late. When the lights came back on, the shapeshifter's lifeless body lay in a pool of its own dark ichor, its throat slit with a blade so sharp it left no mark on the skin. Cade had been there, unseen, unnoticed. even by the assassin's alien senses. In Tokyo, Zal, the venomous insectoid, prepared to strike down a major political figure. A sniper shot rang out, but not from Zal's weapon. Cypher had tapped into the alien's neural frequencies, forcing it to fire on its own comrades in a brief moment of confusion before Shade closed in, finishing the creature with ruthless efficiency. The alien assassins had underestimated humanity's capacity for organized counter-assaults. For every species the Council had conquered, they had never faced prey like this. The Boogeyman fought not with superior technology, but with raw human ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer will to survive. Each victory was a message. Earth was far from defeated. Their most critical mission came when Phantom tracked Ulrich, the leader of the alien squad, to a hidden safe house in Tokyo. Ulrich, unlike his subordinates, had prepared for this possibility, setting traps, cloaking devices, and layers of defense. But against Phantom, it wasn't enough. Abel Ward was relentless, his movements a blur of lethal precision, exploiting every gap in the alien's defenses. The final confrontation was short, brutal, and silent. As Ulrich's lifeless body fell to the ground, Phantom wiped his blade clean and sent the transmission. Target eliminated, awaiting further orders. With Ulrich dead and the alien assassin network crumbling, humanity was no longer cornered. The Galactic Council had sent their best, but Earth had answered with something far more dangerous. The Boogeyman was out of the shadows now, and the galaxy would soon learn what it meant to face a species born from struggle and defiance. But the war was not over. The Council still loomed, and the Boogeyman's mission had only just begun. Far from Earth, in the pristine halls of the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, the air was thick with disbelief. The assassins, their finest operatives, had been methodically dismantled. Ulrich, their most lethal agent, had gone dark. This was not how the Council had foreseen the campaign against Earth. Lord Vakathar sat at the head of the assembly, his once unshakable confidence now replaced with simmering frustration. Holograms flickered before him. Reports from the failed missions, the deaths of their prized assassins. Humanity had not only survived, they had fought back with ruthless precision. The whispers among the Council members were growing louder, each species representative now questioning their leadership's judgment. How could a primitive species like this defy us? Hystralic, a reptilian counselor, his forked tongue flicking in agitation. We sent the best killers in the galaxy, and still they persist. They did more than persist, muttered Counselor Alyssa, her insectoid eyes narrowing. They hunted our hunters. Vakathar silenced them with a wave of his hand. This is not over. They have wounded us, yes, but they are still isolated, alone. We will crush them with the full force of our fleets. But even as he spoke, there was doubt in his voice. Humanity had proven themselves more dangerous than any of the Council's enemies before. And now, as their assassins lay dead, reports were trickling in of strange movements near the galactic perimeter. Ships, silent and untraceable, breaching Council-controlled space. "They're here," a quiet voice echoed through the chamber. Vakathar turned to see Counselor Yalara, an elder stateswoman of the Krivian race, her deep blue skin illuminated by the Council's low light. Her eyes were closed, her voice filled with an unsettling certainty. "The humans, they're coming for us." Far from the polished halls of the Council, the Boogeyman squad was already in motion. Having eliminated the alien assassins, they had gathered critical intelligence on the Council's operations. With their cloaked ships and stealth technology, they had infiltrated the outermost systems of the Galactic Council. Their mission was simple: bring the fight to the Council itself. "We have their coordinates," Cypher whispered, her fingers flying over her terminal. "Tapping into the galactic network undetected. Their defenses are strong, but we can disable key systems long enough for a strike team to land." Cade surveyed the team, his expression grim but determined. "This is the moment we've been preparing for. We hit them hard, take out their leadership, and cripple their control over the galaxy. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to end this." Each Boogeyman nodded, their resolve unshakable. The Galactic Council may have ruled the stars for millennia, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. And now, with Earth's back against the wall, there was no room for mercy. The first wave came swiftly. The Boogeymen infiltrated the Council's primary stronghold, bypassing their defenses with ease. Cloaked in shadows, they moved through the labyrinthine halls of the Council's central tower, neutralizing sentries and security systems as they advanced. In their wake, chaos followed. Abel Phantom Ward led the charge. His movements were a blur as he dispatched a group of heavily armored guards with lethal efficiency. Behind him, Shade melted into the shadows, taking out sentries before they could even register his presence. Cade and Cypher worked in tandem, disabling key communication nodes while Rosa flooded the Council systems with false data, blinding their defenses. It wasn't long before the Council realized the full scale of the attack. Alarms blared, and Vakathar's voice echoed through the halls, cold and commanding. Stop them at all costs. Earth's defiance ends here, but it was too late. The Boogeyman had already penetrated the inner sanctum. Bursting into the Council chamber, they found Vakathar and his counselors waiting, surrounded by a horde of elite guards. For a moment, silence hung in the air. Two forces staring each other down, knowing that only one would leave victorious. "This ends now," Cade said, his voice low and unyielding. "You came to destroy us. You failed." Vakathar sneered. "You are nothing but an anomaly. You cannot possibly hope to stand against the might of the galaxy." "We already have," Phantom whispered, his eyes locking with Vakathar's before he moved, so fast that the counselors barely saw him coming. In one fluid motion, his blade cut through the air, and the first guard fell, clutching his throat. All at once, the chamber erupted into violence. The elite guards fought with disciplined ferocity, but they were no match for the Boogeyman. Cade and Shade moved like phantoms through the ranks, while Cypher's sabotage of the Council's defense systems rendered their technological advantages useless. Vakathar, desperate and enraged, lunged at Phantom with a vibroblade, but Abel's response was swift and merciless. In a single stroke, he disarmed the Supreme Overseer and held him at the edge of his blade. "You underestimated us," Phantom growled, his voice cold as ice. "Now the galaxy will know. Humanity will not be conquered." Vakathar's eyes widened in disbelief, and in that moment, Phantom struck. The Supreme Overseer fell, his body crumpling to the floor as silence reclaimed the chamber. The Galactic Council's rule was over. In the days that followed, human forces, emboldened by the Boogeyman's victory, spread across the galaxy, dismantling what remained of the Council's power. Species long subjugated by the Council began to rise, inspired by humanity's defiance. But for the Boogeyman, the mission was far from over. They had brought the Council to its knees, but in doing so, they had announced humanity's presence to the galaxy. And as they stood on the precipice of a new era, one thing was clear. Earth was no longer a forgotten world on the outer rim. They had become a force to be reckoned with, and somewhere in the shadows, the Boogeyman prepared for whatever came next.